Class, this is Professor McGuire, and I'd like to take a couple of minutes to talk to you about what constitutes a current empirical research article and how to put that into APA 7 formatting. So let's go ahead and get started on that. Alrighty, so a current empirical article. Current means that it was published in the last 5 years. This will be really important to you when you are working on your dissertation, or those of you in the EDS program, if you're working on a capstone project. Your research articles that you would be citing in those documents need to be published within the last 5 years of actually when you think you're going to graduate. So you want as new as possible. But for the purpose of this class, current means published in the last 5 years. Empirical means that it's a research study. So what constitutes a research study or an empirical article? So it has to have specific components. So I've shared with you all the empirical research checklist. So if the article has these items in it, then it's an empirical study. If it does not, it might still be scholarly, but it's not considered empirical. Therefore, it's something that you probably should not be using. So some of those components are this. There's probably an abstract. There's going to be an introduction. And in that introduction, as you're reading that article or skimming that article, you'll notice that there's the purpose of the study or the scope of the study. Maybe there's rationale for the study. You will definitely see either a hypothesis or research questions based on whether or not it's a quantitative or a qualitative study. And there could even be a section where they define key concepts, terms, they give definitions. There will also be a large section that's called the Lit Review, and this is where the authors of the research study have gathered all of the relevant literature and they've put that into their study, meaning they looked at what was going on in the body of knowledge and felt that it was pertinent to their study. The next big section that you'll notice in an empirical study would be the methodology. This is where we figure out, was it a quantitative study, a qualitative, a mixed methods? And then there's going to be another section called the data collection. And this is maybe where we have the sample that's the sample population. All the procedures will be in here that the authors went through to collect the data for their study. They will also have a list of what tools they use to do that. So if it's like a quantitative, they might have some kind of instrument that was already validated. If it's qualitative, there would be some maybe interviews or focus group or questionnaires. Then there'll be a data analysis section. So again, if it's quantitative, they've probably used some kind of program like SPSS. If it's qualitative, there will be a thematic analysis. Then the following sections will show up in an empirical article. There might be the results or findings. Sometimes they use those words interchangeably. And that's basically what were the results of the study that they conducted. This is really where you want to hone in when you are citing an article. Go look at what the results of the study were from that article. And then that's what you would put into, say, like your DQ or your essay or your dissertation. The discussion is where the author starts to talk about the results of their study compared to the literature that's already out there. So they start saying, our research found this, and that's similar to the research of so-and-so. There will be a conclusion where they wrap everything up, and then they'll have references. So this is what constitutes an empirical study. So this is what you're going to want to have for your DQs, essays, and dissertation. So let's look at a quick sample current empirical article. This is one of my favorites to show you. Let me make sure that this screen is showing, and I will pull up the article. All right, so this is a sample. One of the things that you'll notice is that it's current. It was published in 2021. We've got the title of the article. Is there a split between adult educators' educational philosophy in learning and teaching process? We know it was published in the International Journal of Instruction, volume number 14 and issue number 3. So we can see that it's got an abstract. And if we scroll down here, we also see the citation. I want you to notice this, and a lot of articles will do this. And unfortunately, they're not always in APA 7 formatting. So this is where you're going to get dinged on your DQs and your essays and your dissertation. If you copy this from the article, it may not be in APA 7. So it's really important for you to know how to do that. And I'll show you how to do that in a minute. But first, let's look at what makes up an empirical article. Here's that lit review. So we went through the introduction. There's the lit review. And this article is actually really good for some of the courses that you might take. So it goes through the different parts that they felt were important for their literature review. Next is that methodology section. Got the purpose. We can see the participants. We can glance at this. We can see how many participants were in this study. And then we start getting into the data collection. So what instruments did they use? How did they collect that data? What were the procedures that they went through? Then how did the author analyze that data? It says that they used a descriptive research survey methodology and a correlational design. So this was probably more of a mixed methods because it's got a little bit of quant and qual in it. And then we get into the findings. And so this is where it's really important to hone in. What were the results of this particular study? This is what you want to use when you are citing articles. And then as we scroll down, we continue to scroll. They start to get into the discussion. And you can see now they start citing articles themselves because they're comparing their results to the literature that's already out there. And then they wrap it up with a conclusion. And then they've got their references. All right. So that is what makes an empirical article. Let's go back to my PowerPoint. And I want to show you then how to cite this. So as I mentioned, oftentimes that citation, the recommended citation is not done correctly. So I've provided this little cheat sheet. This is from the APA 7 blog. It's fantastic. Please pay attention to the tiny little word boxes because they give you all of the tiny little details that are really, really important. But let's just go over it quickly. We notice that the author's last name comes first, followed by a comma, a space, the author's first initial, and a period. If there are other initials, you put those after. The year of publication goes into quotes with a period. And then the title of the article is in sentence case. And you'll notice that little word box tells us that. Sentence case means that the first word or the first letter of the first word is capitalized. If there's a colon, the first letter of the first word after the colon is capitalized, and any proper nouns are capitalized. Everything else is lowercase. Then we see that it has the title of the journal. This is the journal it was published in, the International Journal of Instruction. Things that we notice here, especially with our little word box, is it tells us to capitalize all of the major words in the article or the journal that it was published in. So that is called title case. And you'll also notice that it's in italics. After that, we have a comma, and it's following the volume number. The volume number was number 14. That is in italics. There's no space, but in parentheses, you put the issue number, and that is upright, so not in italics. And that was issue 3, followed by a comma, and then we have the page range. So that's right in here. You'll notice that it doesn't say PG or PP period. It's just the page range. And then it's followed with the DOI, and it has to start off with that https:// and then a backslash with the DOI number. So that's how you put it into that formatting. All right, so that's how I would like you to make sure that you are doing your DQs. It has to be supported by a current empirical research study, and you have to have a parenthetical in-text citation. So author's last name, comma, followed by the year of publication. And then you also have to have the corresponding reference done in APA 7 formatting. This applies to your DQs, your responses to classmates, and to responses to me for participation points. I also have post and goes, so look for those, and those have different requirements. So those might be a nicer way to do some participation points. But you do want to make sure that you have all of these to be successful in those DQs, your essay, and in your dissertation. Private message me if you've got any questions. I'm happy to help. Have a good day. Bye-bye.